everyone. This is Chairman Mercedes Price Harry, Chairman for the Lee County Republican Executive Committee. And this is the second episode of the Chair's Chat. And Grant is not with us today because he's enjoying his family, and we're going to take turns a little bit anyway. Sometimes we'll be together, sometimes we'll be interviewing people. But I thought this was a great opportunity to introduce to everybody Missi Lastra. And so some of you may or may not be familiar with Missi Lastra, but those of us involved in Lee County politics know Missi Lastra. And so anyhow, welcome, Missi.
For better or for worse.
For better or for worse.
Yeah.
So glad that you're here.
Oh, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolute pleasure. So just so everybody knows, Missi Lastra is a REC member. Mm-hmm. She is a precinct committee woman out of the Cape Coral area, and currently she does serve as the lead for our large-scale events and galas. But we'll talk a little bit about that later. What I want to do for the sake of today and moving forward is just introducing the body and Lee County and anybody else that's watching or listening to different volunteers who contribute to the organization, because we are all volunteers. And I don't know that too many people realize that. Mm-hmm. So at the state level, obviously the Republican Party of Florida, the chairman and some of the board do get paid, but at the county levels, no one gets paid.
Nope.
And so it's important to be a volunteer and to donate your talent in any way, shape, or form that you can. And so we are blessed to have someone with the mentality, the ideas, and the bounce back that Missi Lastra does. She's been a blessing to me as the chairwoman or chairman since I came on board in December of 2024. And so I want to start by saying, you're a blessing. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We're here to highlight how awesome you are.
I think that you're a blessing too.
Well, thank you. I hope so.
You're the hope. You're the hope for the party right now. So the local Lee County party.
Yeah. We've got to move. We've got to move forward, right? We have to move forward.
We have to move forward. We have to unify.
We have to unify. We don't have to be friends, but we definitely need to unify. And I feel good about the future. I think we just need to stay focused on what matters. And that's tough in politics, particularly Lee County politics, but we'll get there.
Lee County is a funny county, I have to say, because we are so heavy Republican. We, as you know, as the chairman,
which is amazing.
We double the Democrats, and so we really don't need to fight with the Democrats because they don't have a chance. So we fight with each other because we have nobody else to fight with. So it's either you're not Republican enough, or you don't agree with what I agree, or you're not conservative enough, or you're not Christian enough, or whatever it is.
Yeah. You're not MAGA enough.
Yeah. Not MAGA enough,
Or you're just not doing it my way.
Exactly.
Yeah. But you know, what I've learned is being the chairman now for about 6 months, what I've learned is it's not just us. It's really, RECs across the state and the country. And this is a testament to the American people and how we are changing the GOP. Mm-hmm. And so we're kind of at a point where we've got this infusion of newly invested people, which is wonderful.
Yes.
But then there's also a history there and a precedent that needs to be either broken or altered. And how we get there, I think, is what the GOP is really experiencing right now in terms of what one side wants, and I mean one side of the Republican Party, right? Like this new infusion versus the old guard versus these middle of the road folks who are just kind of wanting to help and understand what the country had been through and the debt and all the problems that we have, and how we get there again is really what I think is going to move us.
Back in 2020, when whatever you want to think happened, I was obviously on the Trump campaign in 2019 and 2020 here in Southwest Florida. And when you want to say lost the election, we didn't lose the election in my opinion, but it was set up. It was set up in such a way that we were not able to prove that it was it was enough nefarious behavior to have reversed that. At the on election day. But having said that, there was a big call to action by Steve Bannon to go join your local REC and take them over.
Yes.
A huge call to action.
Yes.
By that. And that was and we saw that influx of new MAGA voters that had not been involved in the party that were just pissed off which I was as well.
And hating the established order because,
and if
in
you
all
were already,
fairness, they didn't do anything.
And if you were
the ones that had,
they didn't. They hid from it.
Yeah,
and
they hid from it.
Nobody would say this was stolen. Nobody would say this was nefarious enough to warrant investigation. Well, a lot of people did say that. Let me just say that. But then there was I don't know how to say the establishment, I guess is the best word.
And the media.
But basically,
that made you look stupid if you said that the election was stolen.
Oh, you're a conspiracy theorist.
Yeah.
But you know who was the biggest conspiracy theorist? Was Rush Limbaugh. And he was right about everything. Okay. But when I first started listening to him, he was supposedly this big conspiracy theorist. And Rush Limbaugh ended up being right about all of those things that he was supposed to be a conspiracy theorist on. So I like to listen to the conspiracy theorists because you
give
just
it 3 or 5 years.
You just don't know.
Right. I mean, that's what they say these days. Just give it a couple of years and it won't be a conspiracy anymore.
Exactly.
You know, Grant is was a big Rush Limbaugh fan. He talked a little bit about that in our last podcast. I was never one I bought into the whole idea that Rush Limbaugh was just a horrible, disgusting bigot
he
person.
was amazing.
And then once I started getting involved in politics, I just never listened. I was a Wilkow girl. So Andrew Wilkow was between 12 and 3, and so was Limbaugh. So I was always listening to Andrew Wilkow. Wilkow majority, let's go.
Yeah.
I love Andrew.
Well, back when I first started listening to Rush, and I guess I wasn't consistent with it, but I thought, oh, that's crazy. Well, what's he talking about? And then he was kind of deemed as a conspiracy theorist. But then he just was right so many times, and it came to fruition within 5 years or a decade or whatever. You looked back and you said, wait a minute. He said that. And then,
We used to have a local talk show host here on 92.5 named Mandy. Do you remember Mandy?
No.
Oh, my goodness, Mandy. I think she moved to St. Louis or Kansas City. I can't even remember. All I know is that Mandy had intuition. Mandy was good, man. She was just so insightful, and she could put things together, and she was phenomenal. I don't know where she is. I think she's wildly successful wherever she ended up. But
I'm sure.
I should probably tune in.
A rare breed.
A rare breed for sure, for sure. And a huge loss for us because she was just great. I mean, just very smart, could put things together. All right, so I want to start out by asking, tell us, who is Missi? Tell us who you were. Give us a little background about you when you were growing up. Nothing political. Just talk to us about Missi, the person, and up until you got here to Fort Myers. See if you can do that for us in about, 8 minutes or so.
Oh my God, that's a long time. So I wasn't raised political at all.
Yeah.
So there was really no politics in my household that I can recall, other than my dad was a union teamster and he was like a shop steward. So there was that kind of world where it was all around the steel mill and the politics of the major steel mill that employed a lot of people in our community. But I come from
community?
Northeastern. It's Ashland, Kentucky is the nearest city. The steel mill was in Greenup, Kentucky, and which is a neighboring county. So I was raised on land that was part of the farm that my grandmother and grandfather owned, a cattle farm, and I caught the bus there in the morning, and then my parents would pick me up after they got off work, whichever got off work first, and come get me. And we go to our house just like, maybe half a mile down the street. And then I think there's still so much land there that my family has.
Awesome.
So it's measured by the square mile, not by the acre.
So we know where we're going when the apocalypse happens.
Yeah, it's full of coal, so we won't get cold. We just have to dig some coal up, I guess.
All right.
It's coal
Cough
land.
ourselves to death.
Yeah.
I'm teasing. Did you have any siblings?
I have a younger brother. He's 5 years younger than me. Yeah.
Where's he at?
He's in Kentucky.
Oh, nice.
He's got these cabins that I don't know the name of it, but it's outside of like Lexington and Louisville area, not where I'm from, but where they have like rock climbing and whitewater rafting and all this activity for young athletic people. And he's got a couple cabins there that he rents out and stuff like that.
That's really
He's
neat.
Also
Do we want to plug, brother? You want to plug him?
Michael. Michael McComas.
Business.
And I don't know what it's called.
Oh,
I don't know what it's called.
All right, well, look up Michael McComas. I forgot you were a McComas. That's when I met you. You used to go by Missi McComas.
Right, because I had taken back my maiden name. Me and Javi had been together for 11 years, 12 years, but we weren't married. So I had taken back my married name, and then when we did marry, I tacked Lastra onto it.
Right.
So I actually ended up leaving. I got married the first time and ended up at Homestead Air Force Base when I was 19 and pregnant with twins. Wow. So my identical twins are 38.
Wow.
David and Michael. And my daughter is 35, and then I have a stepdaughter that's 36 and a stepson that's 34, and that's Javi's kids. My husband now, that I've been with him for 23 years, and we've been married for about 14 of them.
And Javi's fantastic.
Yeah.
Everyone that knows Javi loves Javi. And Javi's Cuban?
No, he's Spanish. He's from northern Spain.
Why did I think he was Cuban?
Gijon. Most of his almost all of his family's from northern Spain.
All this time.
But so when the brothers, his dad and uncle came over, his dad and two uncles came over here, they came through Cleveland, Ohio, because their grandfather sponsored them into the country to work at a steel mill in Ohio. And then two of the brothers, my husband's dad and his brother, my husband's uncle, moved to Miami. And then the other uncle moved to Puerto Rico and built a family and a life in Puerto Rico. So there's like the Miami, Puerto Rico connection.
Yeah.
From Spain.
Maybe that's why I was thinking Cuban.
Maybe
I just assume.
Well, a lot of Cubans are of Spaniard descent.
Right. Of course. I think all Hispanics are of Spanish, like Spain descent.
Well, I always tell Javi those little Spaniards went all over the world trying to conquer everybody.
Yeah,
so.
they did. The conquistadors were no joke. You want to talk about like the the Western world. Let's talk about Spain first. They were like murdering people and taking over civilizations for a long time before the white folk.
Now his family's they're bigger people. Yeah, my husband's not a small man, and his brother is even bigger. And when we go to Spain, we're big. They're not big people over there.
Right. Yeah. The Europeans are generally little people.
Their elevators are tiny.
Well, and even the conquistadors were tiny guys, weren't they? Like little guys.
Little
too?
guys. Yeah.
Ponce de Leon, was he?
Yeah,
was
I
he
think
from
they were
Spain?
all little.
I think prior to 1930, everybody was small,
deficient
they
in
didn't get
nutrients
vitamins and whatnot, and food, and
Yeah.
So now everybody's giant. Or,
Yeah.
Not in Spain. I got to
Drinking that
tell
whole
you.
milk.
Yeah, but you know what is with their food? Their food is very natural. It's not preserved.
Yeah.
It doesn't have a lot of the stuff in it that our food here
Yes.
has in it. They're not
Right.
allowed to put it in it.
Right.
And so they don't get all of the really fattening stuff that we get that makes us bigger.
Yeah. All the processed fake garbage.
Mm.
I have a theory that the preservatives are why there's so many distorted bodies, because it's preservatives in your body. Like it's not
probably.
going anywhere. So after it sits in a can or in a box for years, then you ingest it. So it's not going anywhere.
Yeah.
I don't know.
You're probably right.
Yeah.
I don't think of it that
That's
way.
my conspiracy. Give it 3 to 5 years.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see if
see.
it comes true.
Yeah, we'll see.
Well, they figure it out. It's probably coming true. It's just if they figure out that's what's happening.
So how did you meet Javi?
So my hairdresser was his barber,
Okay.
and he is
Interesting.
so I had moved to this place called Cutler Ridge. It's now called Village of Cutler Bay, and the property taxes are higher. But back then it was the Ridge. It was off Old Cutler Road, and my hairdresser Steve was known as like the Cupid, the matchmaker, and we were like the 5th couple he hooked up.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah, and the others are all divorced, but we're still going strong.
Okay. Knock on. That's like. So let's take us back to a 19-year-old with twins.
Oh my gosh! First of all, you don't remember much of it because
Yeah,
I
I
think
can
I was
only
20 by
imagine.
the time I had them. But yeah, I just turned 20 when I had them. So, but
Like, what were you doing for a living? How were you?
I was working part time in a shoe store.
Okay.
And trying to get back into college
Mhm.
at that time. I eventually did, but not till my mid 30s. So
Okay.
I finished college in my mid 30s, but got involved in a shoe store and then worked my way up and became the manager of the shoe store. Do you remember the Payless shoe stores?
Of course.
Okay, so I was manager of a Payless shoe store.
Okay. And so, all right. So now take us to Javi.
I went on to 21 years in retail management, and I ended my career with Home Depot stores.
Okay.
I did about 17 years in fashion industry, and then ended up at Home Depot stores. I mean, that's where I got my degree, business degree, and I got a certification in human resources, and I ended up a human resources
Nice.
director for Home Depot
Were
stores.
you Were you in Home Depot in this area? Or?
No, Miami-Dade.
Okay.
So I had multiple stores over there.
Awesome.
Yeah, and they're very high volume stores, and I was on
Yeah.
this regional audit team. So I got to go to our stores in the U.S. Virgin Islands, Puerto Rico, obviously the Keys, because I was down in the south part of Miami, so that was part of our district, and do the quarterly audits.
So you were traveling. You were a traveling mom. What would you do with the kids?
So I had their dad, and then Javi came along.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so you had no other family?
Yes, my parents moved to Naples from
Oh.
Kentucky. So my dad's family had been in that area of Kentucky since 1806. He's the first to move.
Wow.
Him and my mom, they moved to Naples to be near my kids because at the time, my kids were the only grandkids they had. So,
And Naples was affordable back then.
and it was close. It was close enough to Miami. It was
Yeah.
a 2-hour drive back then across 41. It was a 2-hour drive to pick them up and take them back to, Naples. He'd come watch their baseball games. And, my
That's
dad's
nice.
a former baseball player. I messed up the paper.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, my dad's a former baseball player. He built the Little League in our town, created the whole program, and then went on to coach the high school baseball team. So baseball is a big, big sport that I grew up with.
Very cool.
And
That
my twins and my daughter played baseball.
Nice.
Very nice. Okay, so now we end up in Fort Myers. How do we end up in Fort Myers?
So one of my twins decided he couldn't live in Miami anymore. He kept getting in trouble.
Mm.
And so he moved to Texas, hated it, and then moved to Cape Coral. He says, I'm going to go to Cape Coral where I can fish. And I'm going to become a professional fisherman. I'm like, okay, cool. That sounds like fun.
And how old was he at the time?
How long has he been here? He was probably in his early 20s at
Okay.
that point, like early to under 25, I would say. Because he bought his first house. Yeah, he was 24 when he bought his house over here. So
That's impressive.
yeah, so so he came over here to become a professional fisherman, and my parents lived in Naples, and my aunt and uncle lived out. Actually, technically, it was a Captiva, but it was right where Sanibel becomes Captiva. Where there's that restaurant and stuff off to the side. So I had a lot of family over here. I had a job. I ran an organization called B&I Miami Dade. It was a franchise of B&I International.
Right?
So I
That's
ran
the
that.
networking.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I ran that major. I used to say I get paid to network. And I ran a major metropolitan franchise with I had a guy that ran it with me. His name is Brian. He was an attorney, and then it was me. And I could work from anywhere most of the time, unless I had events over there, and I had tons of events over there. But I could work from anywhere, so we were going to just buy a house here, keep the townhouse back there. But once we got over here, I couldn't get Javi to leave
Oh, yeah.
for anything. So
Well, because does he like the slower pace? Is that what it is? Yeah. That we kind of went through the same thing when we came down from Atlanta. The idea was, we were, I teased at the last episode. We were dinks, double income, no kid, and we just came down to have fun. Brian got a transfer with his job, and I transferred as a pharmaceutical rep. And we went to the East Coast, and it was like, okay, it was a much faster pace. And we're like South Georgia people, right? Like, we like fire, big campfires in the woods with a cold beer. So it wasn't really our pace. We weren't like cosmopolitan type.
Yeah, everything
people.
was just more
And
expensive.
everything
and
was
I'm like,
it was like a shoebox for $400,000
yeah.
or, and this is 2003. So it was like a shoebox for $400,000, or you come here and you go to Cape Coral and you could get a 3-bedroom, 2 bath with a garage, 2-car garage with a pool, right across from the river. And it was like $170. I think when we first got here, it was like 140 for a house like that. And then 6 months later, when we were finally ready to buy, everything had gone up another 30, 40 grand. So we ended up getting in pretty good. And then we just never sold the house. We still live in it. I needed,
where are you going to move now?
oh my gosh, I need another garage. I need an office. And so we go back and forth about, renting out our place and buying ourselves something bigger in the Cape, something closer to our church and our kids' school.
So even now, it's still so expensive.
Yes, that's why we're holding on. We're hoping that there's some kind of dip.
We
So-
got our house during the downturn. So in 2010, we bought it.
Oh, you got lucky.
We got a really good, like
yeah.
a stupid good price.
Very smart.
And so now every time I think about, like, we could use something, I could use a little bit more, but I'm like, we'll just make this work.
Yeah.
It's easier. That's why we put the pool in.
That's kind of where we've been at with it.
Mm-hmm.
But, I bring that up only because it's just such a different pace. So not only was it that we could get more home here for a more affordable price as 2 people fresh out of college, but it was also just a better pace. We like to just chill.
Plus, when I moved here, everybody burned stuff. Like in Miami, I was in Miami for 25 years. I moved here, and everywhere we went, everybody, there was some kind of burning. Like they were doing bonfires everywhere.
Oh, yeah.
What?
Yes,
Oh, that's funny.
It was like everywhere I went, like everybody here just has bonfires and burn stuff. Like nobody does that in Miami.
There's something
probably not allowed to. There's
tranquil
probably some ordinance
about
about it.
fire. Yeah, probably. But
I originally liked it here better because of the traffic.
well,
What about that
Oh
anymore?
well,
Yeah.
so I did too because
Sucka.
Miami traffic was crazy, and that was what I loved Miami for 20 of the 25 years I was there.
Okay,
but
yeah.
the traffic just got really crazy, and I was exposed to a lot that I never would have been exposed to in the Podunk place I'm from in Kentucky.
Mm.
But
Oh, yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah, so I just fell in love with the city of Miami when I moved there. But 20 years in, I'm like, oh gosh,
It gets old.
it's a lot.
I can only imagine. Yeah.
Yeah, so
I'm
we
not a
were
Miami
trying
person.
to go back and forth here, but I decided that I liked it here better, and there was no sense in trying to keep things up over there.
Yeah.
So just moved here permanently and
All
just
right.
kept it.
Well,
Yeah.
we're glad you're here.
Thank you.
So when I met you, I'll never forget. I think we tease about this. We were both at Shoeless Joe's in Crown Plaza at the Crown Plaza Hotel.
Wasn't it something about the libertarian people? Was there something going on with the or the young Republicans maybe?
It might have been Young Republicans. Gosh, I don't know why. I can't remember why we were there. I just remember being outside and we were all eating and hanging out. And I had known you. You know, I had seen you around at different meetings. And I remember you were pressuring me to do something or to run for something.
I can't remember.
I can't remember either. I just remember being like, hell
Oh no!
no.
I remember seeing you there. I remember we were talking and everything and hanging out, but I don't remember what. Probably a seat on the board.
Maybe
Was that when our vice chair had stepped away of the REC?
it might have been. I can't remember.
We used to have REC meetings there, and we used to go to Shoeless Joe's after the REC meetings and hang out.
That's not. Yeah,
Yeah.
That's not a bad, yeah. I know that the Libertarian Party would always meet there too, which is probably why you were thinking
Yeah.
that was where what meeting we were at. Maybe I don't even remember. I just remember that was around the time that we had our businesses, and I think I had birthed my second child just before that, and so I was taking a step back. So you came into Lee County politics right when I sort of took a hiatus.
Yeah,
So-
you were getting your businesses going.
Yes, they were like insane in 2015, and I had two small children, and it was just too much. So I bring that up because, you were talking about how you went from the corporate world and then you came here to Lee County, and I know you through politics. So talk to us about how you were in Lee County and you got involved in politics, and a little bit about what you're doing now.
So I was involved in politics before I left Miami-Dade County. So it was like a transition. I was actually in a
Nice.
Bible study class. It was a group Bible study that I got involved because I had started a social media company. This was back in 2010. So I had the Connection LLC, and it was very new, cutting edge. Nobody was really managing other people's social media yet. Some firms were like getting you set up, but then they didn't know what to do after that. And so we had this company, and if you'll remember back then, and I don't like to say the name out loud, but a president had won an election. And he reached new demographics through Facebook. If you remember, it
Yes.
was called.
Right.
Do you remember that? Okay.
Yes, of
So,
course.
I mean, he was not a good president, but he did win, and he did
Yes.
reach a younger demographic.
Mhm.
So I said, okay, I'm going to get these politicians. I'm going to get their business. I never did. I ended up serving lawyers for some reason. It's just how it worked out. But so I started this Bible study that was these politically connected ladies, and I didn't go to church. So I literally went to Bible study before I went to church. So I went to it. So it was meant to be. So I went to Bible study for I don't want to say nefarious reasons, but for opportunistic reasons. And I come out, on my path and my relationship with Jesus.
Awesome.
It took a while, but I'm in this Bible study, and about 18 months. It's 38 women, and about 18 months into it, her husband came home. Jeanette, we did it at Jeanette's house because they did not let anybody babysit their kids except for their mothers who were in the same area, like the same few blocks, right?
Okay.
And so she would provide dessert and coffee, and we would take turns bringing dinner. And I was always famous for bringing I called it Polo Tropical. Y'all didn't have that here yet.
Polo Tropical.
But we
Girl.
Polio Tropical.
Okay, yes.
Okay, so anyway, I
Polo
would bring Polo
Tropical.
Tropical. And
You ain't from Kentucky.
but that was our healthy fast food in Miami. If you didn't want McDonald's or whatever, you went through the drive-thru at Polo Tropical. But anyway, so anyway, this one particular Bible study, we didn't start our Bible study, and everybody's talking in politics, and I wasn't super political, and I didn't really know what they were talking about. And I said to my friend, "What is going on? Why are we not starting this Bible study? Everybody's on a clock here in Miami. We got to get home and get ready for everything tomorrow." And she goes, "I don't know. I think he's running for something." So the next day, I looked to see what Jeanette's last name was. It was Rubio.
Oh.
So,
Oh, wow.
so
Interesting.
So then I said, well, so then her husband's Mark, because she always called him Mark when he would come home and take the kids upstairs so that we could have our Bible study. And I Googled him, and it was Marco Rubio had just announced the day before he was running for Senate.
Little Marco.
Yeah.
Whoa,
So,
stop. Marco
and
Rubio's
I've
the
been
man
I
now.
know. I'm kidding.
no, I know. So we immediately became volunteers. All of us became
Okay.
volunteers, and I can remember he won, and it was what a party at the Biltmore. I mean, I'd never experienced anything like that. Our whole ticket won, all the way down.
Yeah.
From governor on down. That was when Rick Scott won.
I was going to say, what was that, 2012 or 2010?
10.
Okay, right, because I was the Lee County co-chair
Mm-hmm.
with Ruth Rodriguez for Marco Rubio, and he was like the Tea Party darling
Uh-huh.
at that time.
And he soon wrote America's Son. Was it America's
Yes,
Son? Yeah.
I think it was.
So, so I remember saying when I was moving over here, I was still going back for Bible study. And I said, look, I'm on the West Coast. When Marco runs for president, I'm your girl. And sure enough, when he ran for president, they called me to co-chair his campaign here
Oh my
in Lee
goodness.
County.
Wow.
Yeah. And the matter of fact, my friends called me and said, you need to get over here on this date. We're going to be at the Freedom Tower. For what? Why are we going to the Freedom Tower? It's something with Marco. I can't tell you. He's running for president. She goes, yes, just get over here on this day at this time. We're all going to be at the Freedom Tower.
That is so interesting.
Yeah.
Politics is funny like
It is
that.
funny
how you
like
just,
that.
That's why I always say to people, when you have relationships with certain people, you don't know what that history is. You don't know how they know each other. People you would never think are friendly for reasons, related to issues, right? Like they may be differing on different issues. Can be good friends because they know each other in other ways, whether it's through church or high school or like in this case, who knew that your Bible study was being held at Jeanette Rubio's house,
So,
right?
yeah, I didn't even care really
guessed?
about that so much because I got involved in the Bible study and wasn't worried about the business anymore.
Yeah,
Right. Part of
yeah.
it, I had other clients and it was not a thing anymore. I was just into the Bible study and our outreach that we did. But having said that, it's funny when they named me, they did like a press release and named all the co-chairs statewide. That was back when the co-chairs would literally go from group to group. I was a member of the REC, but they would go to from group to group and speak on behalf of the candidate. They don't really allow that anymore.
Yeah, yeah.
And they would send me to debates. I had to learn
all of his issues.
Oh my gosh,
all
and
his
what he had
policy
said on this
positions.
and what he'd said on
Yeah.
and I'd never had to do that
And his
before.
time in the Florida
I was
house.
really a newbie. Yeah, that's how I learned about the 100 ideas for Florida and the
Mhm,
book and all
mhm.
that. That's how I learned about all that because I had to get up to speed really quick. And there was like 3 of us. There was me, and 2 other ladies. One lady was the chair for Trump, and the other lady was chair for Ted Cruz. And we would drive everywhere together and
Oh,
take turns
funny.
speaking, and then go back out and get in the car and go back.
No fist fights in the car?
No, none at all. No, we all got along.
And this was when?
2015, 16.
Okay, right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so you were here.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was here since 2011.
And so talk to me now because you do a little bit of different stuff now. So talk to me about what you're doing now.
Well, I do have the campaign business, campaign and event strategy, which almost everything on a campaign is an event of some kind. If you think about it,
for
whether
sure. Yes.
it's a grassroots event, whether it's a voter contact event, whether it's a fundraising event, press event,
door knocking.
The whole voter contact part. So everything's an event, whether it's, a 1-hour event, a 2-hour event or a multiple day event, depending on what you're trying to do. So I have red carpet events by Missi that I've had for a while. And that's my campaign consulting side. And I perform various things there for different candidates. And then I also have just recently started the Conservative Perspective.
Oh, okay. Yes, that's right. Yes.
Yes, with Dwayne Moore.
Yep.
Yeah.
Dwayne Moore, yeah.
Yeah, we're getting ready to launch that. So we that will be launched after Women of Distinction, so after the 21st.
Yes, because Women of Distinction is an event that you host every year. How many years have you been doing it now?
Since 2000, I started in 2016. Our first gala was in February of 2017, and what I had done was I had gotten a charter of the Florida Federation of Republican Women. I had started a Republican Women's Club in 2016 in Cape Coral. And everybody, and I did 17 years in the fashion industry, and everybody said, oh, you got to do, what is it? A fashion show to raise money for your women's club. And I'm like, well, I've done fashion shows. I've done Donna Karan, Emilio Pucci. I've had the
Ooh.
big designers there. I said, I can do a fashion show, but I don't want to.
Yeah.
I want to do an awards program because I'm sick of the media. They're basically portraying Republican women as old, white, blonde women that vote the way their husbands tell them to vote,
Right.
and don't really care about people. And I was looking around Cape Coral, and I was seeing these women rolling up their sleeves and getting work done to help the community. One big thing that comes to mind is the no-kill shelter. The city of Cape Coral, the size of it is, we did not have an animal shelter. And then as I'm, acclimating to the community, I'm realizing each and every one of those women were Republican women. And I'm like, well, the media is they're just full of it.
Yeah.
So we're going to reward Republican women. And everybody said, no, it's too much to take on. You don't know how to do it. You don't know how to do an awards program. And they were right.
What really?
So what
Like
happened?
the first time, you mean?
No, what happened was I just kept beating on doors. Do you know how to run an awards program? How do you run an awards program? And finally, I met this lady from Wyoming. Yeah, I think it was Wyoming. And they had just retired. She worked for a senator there for 24 years, and they had retired and moved to Cape Coral. And I said, do you know how to run an awards program? And she goes, well, I do. I ran a women's award program for 23 years up in Wyoming. I said, do you want to teach me how? Do you want to be my chair? And she got shocked. And I was getting ready to start the club meeting. She goes, and I go, oh, I'm sorry. I'm too pushy. Probably what I did to you.
No, I needed somebody pushy.
So I go run my meeting, and then it was all over with. She comes up to me. She goes, I will run your awards program, and I'll teach you how to do it.
Nice.
And she did.
That was heaven
Because
sent.
you got to have a process, and
Yes.
you got to have a system, and you've got to have integrity.
Yeah.
And if it's going to stand the test of time. So this is our 10th year and our ninth awards gala.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
they're always nice, and they're always very well put
Yeah.
together.
Yeah.
And
I have a great team.
Professional. You do have a great team.
I mean, I call them the girl tribe. So I remember this lady that taught us how to do this. She said, okay, you've chosen the words women, because she took me through this process, and we came up with women of distinction. She goes, the acronym's going to be WAD. And I said, no, we're never going to say that. I
Yeah.
said, we're always just going to say the full thing, women of distinction. Well, so now people call us the WAD Squad.
Oh, that's kind of cute though. Hey, that's not too bad. That's not too
good.
bad.
That's good.
Yeah.
Well, I've been to many, and they're fantastic.
Thank you.
You
We
do a
have-
great job.
And we have Dr. Alvita King this time. Not
Yes,
that I'm
that's
plugging it, but
exciting.
I mean,
No, you should.
we're
That's
kind
the
of almost
21st of
sold out, but
June. Yeah.
Yeah, so
That's great.
we do have Dr. Alvita King, and actually D. Wayne and I are going to be interviewing her because she
Okay.
prefers interviews.
Good. Yes, I think I heard that. I think
Mhm.
you told me that.
Yeah.
So that's why when I became the chair, I knew that I wanted to tap you for some help, because I was familiar with not only the fact that you are forging your own path, which is a path that so few people in Lee County are willing to forge, which takes a lot of bravery and skill, but also I knew that you were really great at events. And so one of the things I've keep repeating to some folks is, I never said that I was really great at big events or even fundraising. I am very opinionated about things, and I'm a tough cookie to crack, but I need a good team around me. As an former entrepreneur and as a manager, I learned that you have to have really great people around you to get the ball rolling.
That's
so
for sure.
we've been kind of, January, February, March was really just an opportunity for the new board, which is a whole new board, right? All four of us are completely new, very new to politics as well, most on the board. And so it was quite a transition. But having you there to help guide me. And, I will say Missi is the one person, well, there's two people, but Missi was the one who, when everything was going down, on a weekly or daily basis in the transition, there's so many people that want to talk to you and meet with you. And they, there's gripes, and then there's, constructive criticisms. There's just so many people.
It's a
once you become
thankless
the chair.
job.
Yeah, for sure. But it's still a much needed and important job. And who the chair is important as well. And how they do things, I think, is important.
It's
to
so
move the needle.
important. Really, you have to protect the brand
Yes,
of
that's
the
right.
Republican Party, and your job is Lee County to protect the brand. Well, there's a lot of things you have to do
Yes,
as chair.
a lot.
But I think at the end of the day, everything goes back to protecting the brand.
Yes, that's right. And just making sure that the public is aware that we are a serious organization that understands the dynamics that we're dealing with. But anyhow, I don't want to take too much longer on all this. I just bring that up because because I want you to talk a little bit more about your role now. So you're the lead for the large events and galas, and we have an event on the 20th of September.
Yes,
and
it's
you're
going to be
helping us
fun.
put it together.
Yeah, I'm
So
excited.
I'm
I got all these
excited.
visions in my head of, I want to take to my graphics person, but Constitution Day, which we've never done here. This is coming from you and obviously your team, the board, and y'all are doing a great job.
Thank you.
We've actually, I'm going to go off a little bit here. We've actually had normal meetings.
Yes, yeah. We'll see.
We've had normal meetings.
Yeah, I think it helps if you don't react, right?
Yeah,
and I think it helps if the body understands the precedent that you expect to be set. I hope.
Yeah,
I hope.
it seems like it.
I feel like I've spent a lot of time trying to tell people,
we're not
what
playing
we're
the
expecting.
silly games
Yeah,
anymore.
what
We're
we're
here
expecting.
to work. We're here to do
Yes,
business
my
and
gosh, work, please.
Yeah, so events are like, I think, and probably the lack thereof, because I don't think we've had a major event.
Yeah, we haven't
since April of 23.
That's right.
When Trump came, and that was epic, right?
At least a major fundraising event.
Yeah. That was epic, and that was epic, and that gets everybody.
That was epic.
That gets everybody together in one location, and it is where we can break bread and unify, right?
Mm-hmm.
So these events are very unifying, and everybody has something to talk about.
Yes.
And everybody has something to celebrate or gripe about.
Right.
They didn't serve me coffee at my table, or I mean, I've heard them all, or my steak wasn't the right temperature, or whatever.
Yeah.
But then you got all the people like, oh my God, the speaker was great, or oh my God, I met some great people, and the pictures come out, and everybody says, look at that, the Republican Party did this.
Yes, that's right.
And it is just one of those unifying things that we have been missing since April.
Yeah.
Because even if you think about the boat parades and all the things we have done, everybody's in separate boats.
Yeah.
That's a good point. Yeah.
We're not breaking bread together.
That's a good point.
And those are important too.
Sure,
I'm
they're
not
fun.
detracting from them. It's a good show of support. But the events, when you pull people together and then you do it as a fundraiser, you're reaching out to local business.
Yes.
You're reaching out to the local community, and you're bringing them in.
Yes.
And saying, hey, look, this is what we're doing. Don't believe all that crazy stuff you're hearing. It's only partially true.
Hey, it's politics. But you bring up a good point, and that's what I wanted to stress is these events, even if your steak is dry and your coffee was cold, the point is to fundraise for the local GOP.
Because what you do, and I go all over the state plugging particular speakers into Lincoln Reagan dinners or
Yes.
Lincoln-esque dinners.
Sure.
Yes.
They're all kinds of different things.
They
just so
are.
you
They
know.
are. Everybody's is different.
And this Constitution Day dinner is something similar to that.
Yes.
It is a Constitution Day dinner. We're gonna have a different type of a theme, but what I don't even know where I was going with that now.
I think we were just talking about how we're trying to fundraise, and in the end, we are trying to unify. And even if you're complaining, the point is we're here to unify and make money. And what do we do with that money? What do we do with that money?
Well, what you do with that money is you support the party.
That's right.
So once the primary is over, the local parties are the ones putting out the mailers for the ticket.
Yeah.
You're the ones putting out the palm cards. You're the ones
the voter suggestions.
putting out the yard signs at the early voting locations and all of that kind of stuff. That's the party. Putting up the 4x4s. You'll probably have this team of burly men that'll run around and put up those 4x4s and get them everywhere, and that takes money.
It does. You've got to be able to buy materials. You've got to be able to purchase the flyers, the text.
All that costs money.
All of that costs money. And I think that that's something people don't realize is that your county party it needs your support so that we can educate. So our goal is to educate.
Right.
That's our number one thing, is to educate and build the Republican Party registrations for new voters. And obviously, as a chair, vice chair, the job is to fundraise so that we can hold these educational events, these hobnobs, these meet and greets, these open houses with candidates, so that you can get to know. You should have every opportunity possible to get to know these local candidates so that you can make the right decision, because they all start here.
I agree. And one of the things that I didn't mention that you just reminded me of, you were around like I was when we didn't have a home. We didn't have an office.
That's right. That's right.
So
we'd have temporary.
So since I'm trying to think, since like 2000, maybe 14, there has been a Republican Party office in Lee County.
Yes.
During elections for a few months, you'll have a second office in Cape Coral that's funded more by the RPOF and RNC. But the county party funds this office year round, and it's a home for Republicans to go and get connected, get involved, find out information, you'll have all of the candidates, Republican candidates, information here. And so it is a home. They'll call in and say, who do I vote for this? And you're going to say, well, these are your Republican options. And
Yes.
this is how you find out more about them.
Right.
So they have a home and they have a place to walk in, call in, be connected. So
And it's great to have a hub, but hubs cost money.
they do.
It costs money.
And that is
So
part
we
of
have
your
to
monthly
fundraise.
expenses that you've got to
Yes.
pay for.
Right,
So.
right. And the rent here, I was telling Brian, we tried to renegotiate the lease, but we couldn't for some reason. So I'm going to try to re-up that
was locked in, yeah.
conversation.
I remember
I'm going
that.
to try to re-up the conversation. We'll see. But nonetheless, it's merely just because of the fiscal conservatism that is on the board, right? Grant and I both feel like we need to try and cut wherever we can. So we've actually been very, very conservative with any
You're
of the spending.
doging the budget.
We've been trying. We tried that with the lease. We tried that with a few things. I think that we cut out early on, just a few things. But now, we're 6 months in, and so we're excited to have the fundraiser in September. We've got another one on September 4th with Congressman Donalds. He's been generous enough to allow us to recoup 100% of the proceeds on that, which will be
amazing.
Wonderful. So we'll have more of that information at leadgop.org. So visit the website,
Exciting.
leadgop.org. And so I just really want to shore this up and by thanking you for being a beast and an incredible friend. Missy was the one who every single week when things were really wild, January, February, March, that would call me every week and she would just say, how are you doing? How can I help you? That's it. That's all I needed to hear. How are you doing? Which would usually be followed by like 10 minutes of like, people are crazy.
Let me ask you all this. For both of y'all, to the members watching right now, what do you need?
What do we need?
Yeah.
What we need is, so with these upcoming events, which we'll get on the website, I actually put them on the website. We just need to get the ticket link and some of the flyers put together. We need support. And when I say support, we need people who can not only join the REC and assist us in doing some of the most basic things like building newsletters and helping us put together flyers, helping us with headquarters here, whether, like you were saying, it's putting up big signs or taking them down, but businesses, what businesses are out there that can assist us? Printing companies, promotional companies, linen companies, catering companies. We have to pull off these events and they take the help of the community. So that's a call out to all conservative businesses. Please support us. I think you'll be excited to see that we are an infusion of a newer, younger board. We don't have any political aspirations, or at least I should say I don't plan on running for office for anything. I really just have my
Unless
heart.
Missy gets a hold of you.
No.
Brian's
No.
going to say, oh, heck no.
No.
Oh, heck no.
I think that this has been an incredible eye-opening experience in terms of where I always felt like I was better on the back end.
I feel that way too about myself.
Yeah, I feel like I'm more productive and more influential. And I think that, being chair has been such a blessing. I mean, I really felt that it was
It's been
calling.
a blessing to all of us. And I think people are starting to feel, and I think that's what I think we also need. Come back and check us out.
Yeah,
Because it's
we're
different. It's a different
yes.
leadership. It's a focused leadership
Yes,
that wants to
focus is
get us
important.
back to the basics, because really what we're supposed to be doing is not complicated.
Right.
And
it really isn't.
and it's just getting us back to the basics. We don't need to be so fancy. We just need to get back to the basics.
Yep.
As far as the work that we need to do, and then making sure that we are raising the money to support those Republican candidates.
That's right.
Once the voters choose in August of 2026, and every 2 years, or
Which is going to come quick.
yeah, it'll be
It's
here
gonna-
quick.
Yeah, it's going to come
Absolutely.
quick. Yeah. So anyhow, I will wrap this up. I want to thank you, Missy,
Oh,
for
thank
coming
you.
in. I hope the membership and the public have an opportunity to get to know you through this podcast.
Oh yeah, and I
because-
would love to have volunteers for the event.
Yes,
so
please.
we have a place for you. If you love events, you love setting up events, taking down events, being part of events, doing registration, all those things. There's so much,
Yeah.
You want to usher people to their seats. You want to help us put up the decor. So many fun things to do. I love events. They're fun. So
Yeah,
if
yeah.
you love events, come check us out.
Well, I'm excited. So again, that's www.leadgop.org. If you're a business owner or a like-minded voter here in Lee County, please check us out, leadgop.org, and we'll get the information out. If you're interested in volunteering with Missy for any of our events. We're not going to stop hosting events. We've
No,
got the
you've
Lincoln
got
Reagan
an
Trump.
aggressive plan.
Yes, we're going to make some money. We're going to make some money, guys. So, and we can't do it alone. So I hope that you'll reach out to us. And thank you for joining the Chairs
Thanks
Chat.
for having me.
Yeah, thank you for being here. Have a good one, guys.